You might be considering getting yourself one of my foot, knee, and hip toolkits. I am super excited to share this with you guys. These are some tools that have helped me over a long time really improve the functionality of my feet, which in turn has given me a much better mobile body starting from the ground up. If we are experiencing pain, tightness, tension, in any of the joints moving upstream, such as the knees, the hips, the lower back, the spine, we can sometimes put that down to what's going on downstream in our feet. For many of us, our feet are being trapped in shoes that are not made for the natural foot function of our human feet, right? When you look at the foot, our toes should move like our fingers. The arch should be muscly and strong, and the foot should be like splayed and strong, right? Unfortunately, when we look at a Western shoe, many of the Western shoes are pointed at the top, right? Saying they don't have like a wide toe box to fit the toes so that they splay nicely. Most of the Western shoes have an arch in them that actually supports the natural arch of the foot, meaning that we don't get the opportunity to flex and extend the foot muscles. Thirdly, most of our shoes are on a ramp, right? Meaning that the heel is lifted, meaning that we are then putting our whole body on an angle, right? When we're walking, okay? By doing this, we're actually tilting our body slightly forward, which means we have to make then an adjustment into the lower lumbar spine. We combine that with sitting in chairs, right? And using devices. Our muscles of the femur bone, so our hamstrings, our quadriceps, our hip flexors, including the psoas, get really, really tight because, again, from that sitting motion and also having to kind of adapt to this degree of incline in the heel, most of us are suffering massive hip and lower back pain due to sometimes what can be drawn back to the functioning of the foot and what we're doing on a 24-hour period. We have to remember that the body is always learning. So whatever it is that we practice is what the body becomes. So if we practice sitting in chairs for 8 hours a day for 40 years, then our body is going to mimic that of a chair. If we practice holding a device, again, for 8 hours a day, then our bodies are also going to mimic that, and we're going to start to round in. Right? This not only creates a structure that is not designed for our human bodies, but it actually communicates to the nervous system that the environment is not safe, right? If our hips are closing, right, and we're finding this shortened position here, we're rounding in, our shoulders are rounding in, the message to the autonomic nervous system, right, through the somatics of the body is, guess what? Your environment is not safe. And that means that's going to have a physiological effect onto our digestion, our ability to burn body fat, and the way that we heal. Hence why I am offering the foot and hip toolkit that not only works for the external body, but also helps your nervous system as well. So firstly, you're going to get in this really funky, cool bag, move like water tote bag that you can carry everything in. And everything that's included in the kit is stuff that you can take with you anywhere. Firstly, I want to talk on this guy because this is probably my favorite. You've got a 45 centimeter soft, squishy balance beam. Firstly, it is amazing also as a beautiful like spinal stretch here. If you're sitting at chairs, you can pop it behind your back and really open up into the chest. But secondly, this is a fantastic way, again, to strengthen the muscles in your feet, right? When we stand on one of these balance beams, okay, what's happening is, firstly, I'm communicating to my nervous system here that, oh, this is a bit unsteady. My nervous system doesn't like it straight away, and my job is to soften the rest of my body and practice being unsteady on a surface that is unfamiliar, right? By bending my knee just a little bit, I'm going to start by strengthening the VMO, the glute medius, and all of the stabilizer muscles around my ankles and my knee and my hip, right? And also use my core that can really, really help core, foot, and hip function. This is a fantastic tool with many, many variations that can really start to improve the strength of your feet, knees, and hips ASAP. The second tool that we have here are these like hacky sacks, okay? Now, I've given 3 of them, so if for whatever reason you would like to improve on your juggling skills, you're very, very welcome to do that. But these are great to pick up with your feet because they're squishy. Feet have muscles and we need to flex and extend them, like I mentioned before, to really strengthen the muscles in the feet. Now that was a little bit further than I wanted to go here, but you can see by reaching forward, grabbing the ball, I either have to internally or externally rotate my hip joint to pick up the ball and try again. This can also be used for single leg squatting drills. So those of you working your dragon squats, pistol squats, shrimp squats, or any passive squatting, fantastic tool to play around with, not only strengthening the muscles in your foot here, but also working really good hip function, improving the balance, and it's super, super fun. Plus my glute is burning. So that's what the juggling balls, that's what the hacky sacks are used for in this toolkit. Another part of our foot and hip toolkit is Jenga blocks, right? You might be wondering what role these guys play. All right, so again, if the muscles in your foot have started to collapse, right, and you've been told you might need to get arch support, I highly recommend you try this first and strengthen the muscles in your feet before looking at arch support. Again, we have to remember that these guys are really strong and they're here to support us. If these guys collapse, right, what's going to happen is the knee is going to start to medially rotate because the muscular structure on the underside of the foot has gone. Right? If we are supporting the arch with a man-made arch in shoes, then how is it actually going to hold us up? So the minute we take that away, the knee is going to medially rotate. Our foot is designed to be strong and hold us up. So this is a fantastic game to build up the strength in your foot muscles so that your knee, being a hinge joint, tracks the way that it should, and it will also play a reflection into your hip. So we have 3 Jenga blocks, right? I actually include 4 in your pack if you'd like to go further with this one. And our job is to spread the toes wide, gripping the Jenga block the best we can, and then turn it on its side and get it to stand up. All right, over time, our job is to create a bit of a tower with this one. And again, you'll be internally and externally rotating through the hip joint to make this work, and it can be extremely frustrating and a great game to play with kids, especially if kids are wearing, again, quite closed-in shoes. That's probably the quickest I've done it for a little while, and you can stack onto that with any height, but a really great way to flex and extend the foot muscles. Once again, super, super fun, super playful. It took me quite a while to get that. I've been working on my feet for many, many years. I did used to work in radio wearing stilettos, hence where my love for good quality foot function has come in ever since I've been a movement teacher. Couple more things included in the foot kit. I have included one of these double cork massage balls. Why? Because they are amazing. Personally, I just like to get this like underneath my foot and just roll. This is just an amazing, amazing tool. Just feels quite nice if you are sitting on the couch. Again, we've got to think nice and easy. It's also great under the hamstring. All right, so if your hammies are really tight too, you're going to notice tightness moving up the posterior chain, especially if you are wearing shoes a lot. Because if this fascia and connective tissue get really tight here, what's going to happen, not only are you going to end up potentially with plantar fasciitis, that's going to pull on the fascia and the connective tissue moving all the way upstream. And then if you are also sitting in chairs, all of the posterior chain is going to be really locked up. You add stress, tension, worry, fear, anxiety to that, the body is just in this massive tightness. So this guy is a fantastic way to roll out any tension that you might find in the body. This is a natural position for us. This is not an exercise. We should be able to squat here in this position for most of our lives. All right, for many of us, we struggle with that because from the age of 5 or so and upwards, we then got put in chairs. Hence why I've put these guys in the pack as well. This is a mini slant board so that whilst you're working on your ankle mobility and your foot function, right, you can actually squat with your heels on a ramp to support. So for whatever reason, whether it be a single leg squat, whether it be your regular squat into the gym, it just helps the foot function so that your knees can track over your ankles. Remember what I said before? If the muscles in the foot are collapsing, what you're going to find is when you go to squat, the knees are going to come in like that. That's unfortunately the road to knee surgery. Okay, so I've provided these ones to really help just lay the knees in place to elevate those heels up if the ankle mobility is not there. Of course, you can also use these guys for any single leg work as well. All right, if you are practicing your pistol squats, things like that. They're once again a great tool to have whilst we're working on better ankle mobility through our balance work. Lastly, probably wondering what these guys are. So for anyone who has bunions out there, I mentioned before I worked in radio. I wore stilettos a lot. I wore tight runners that were very pointed and elevated at the heels, and I used to have quite severe bunions. These go around the big toes, right? And we take a bit of a step apart, and what we're trying to do here is lift up the toes and place them back down. All right, so really fighting that band here, really trying to pull the toes open. Again, as I mentioned before, the foot should be wide and splayed at the top and muscly. This band is a fantastic way to start to reduce the bunions. The more work that you do on your feet, right, as in trying to make them muscly and strong, and you get out of shoes more often, the body weight will, of course, with gravity, start to push down. The foot will splay open and out and become muscly. The inner arch of the foot will start to lift. And what you'll find also is that instead of the body being in this position, a bit more closed, when the arches lift, the body returns to a much more natural posture and position, where, of course, the body feels much more open. And the nervous system, of course, returns to safety a lot easier. If you're interested in the Foot and Hip Toolkit, they have arrived and I have 4 more on sale at the time of this video. Right? You can go onto my website, megspace.com.au, and grab yourself one of those packs to be sent out anywhere in Newcastle or in the Nelson Bay area. If it's somewhere else, just get in contact with me and I can get one to you. I hope you find this as helpful as it's helped me. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.